Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Shireen Ben Zayed. I'm heading innovation at Finastra, and this is one of the live meetups that we are conducting during our hackathon, Hack to the Future. This is our third Hack to the Future. It's a global fintech hackathon, and this time we've organized it in honor of the International Women's Day. It is aimed to build an unbiased fintech future, and you've got till the 4th of April to join and submit a project. For more information, please go and check iwd.devpost.com. And today we'll be discussing technology for business model innovation. And I'm really honored to have with me Professor Saman Sarbazvatan, who's the COO, Associate Dean, and Head of Program and Instructional Design at École des Ponts Business School. Saman, can you please tell us a bit more about you and about École des Ponts Business School?
Hello, sure. Thank you very much, Shireen. So hello and welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much for tuning in. So my name is Saman. I'm from École des Ponts Business School, the business school of École des Ponts Paris Tech in France. And today we are here to discuss technology for business model innovation, basically in the format of a webinar. And I'm going to explain to you the flow of the session, and then we start. So that is for the quick introduction.
Thanks a lot, Saman. So I just wanted to mention that École des Ponts Business School is also a partner of Hack to the Future for the second year now. And what's really exciting is that they are offering two great opportunities for all hackathon participants. So in one hand, there is the Global Executive MBA program, where all hackers can have access to scholarship opportunities. And there are special scholarships as well for the hackathon winners. So I suggest that you definitely go and check that. It's really exciting. And the second opportunity, actually, in partnership with École des Ponts Business School, is a certificate. It's a technology for business model innovation fintech certificate that Saman and the school have specifically designed for the hackathon participants, for Hack to the Future participants. So it can be really a great opportunity in case you'd like to complement your hackathon experience with a certificate from a prestigious school like École des Ponts Business School. So you can find all the information on this on iwd.devpost.com. But now, let's move on with Saman on technology for business model innovation. And as we get started, also, just make sure you ask all your questions on the comments. We'll be taking them at the end. So whether you're watching us on YouTube live or LinkedIn Live, you can post your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure we take them all with Saman at the end of the session. Thank you all again for joining us. And now over to you, Saman.
Thank you very much, Shireen. So in order to provide a bit of context about our programs and the business school where we are really active in. So as a business school, we have two major programs. One is the Executive MBA program, which is LeadTech, which is based on leadership, technology, and innovation. We're delivering it with our partner school, EADA Business School from Spain, and which is totally in line with the discussion of today as well. The other program that we have is an Executive Doctorate in Business Administration, which is always around business administration, but from different perspectives and angles, from a practitioner's point of view, on a doctoral degree. So, all right, so let's get started with this session. So this webinar is basically inspired from my courses that I teach around technology, on business model innovation, around circular economy, and enabling technologies in general. And I have a surprise also at the end. On the last slide, I will share with you. But for now, let's dive in. So, okay, so what is the session flow, or the course flow, if you like? So we start talking about the why. Why do we need to have a focus on technology when we talk about business model innovation? What are the drivers? Here we talk about the drivers. On the second part, we talk about the how. So how our technologies and enabling technologies in general are used to empower business model innovation. Here we talk about the enablers, technological enablers included. And on the third part, we talk about the what. Here is actually what are the use cases, what are the applications of technology for business model innovation. We're going to have a couple of concrete examples of companies that are doing very interesting things. Some of them you might already know. But then we are going to also have like a broad spectrum of examples that you can also find very interesting ideas and inspirations to see where can you use technology, why would you use technology for business innovation, how to do it, and what exactly you can do with it. So, and finally, we're talking about the integration tools, basically the toolkits, if you like, that you can use in order to integrate technology into your business model innovation. So, in the why, talking about the drivers, we talk about the transition to the digital economy. So the why here is really the answer to the question, okay, why do I need to consider technology when I'm trying to have some innovation in my business model? In other words, these are the areas that you can look into to find inspiration and to have innovation in your business model and economic model as well. So the first one is the transition to the digital economy. We are going to talk about it a bit more. The second one is the mass integration of Industry 4.0 technologies. And then we have the need for reinforced microeconomics of competitiveness. So these might sound too wordy, but we are going to talk and we are going to see some examples, and we are going to really dive a bit deeper into the conversation. Then we have the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. And finally, the urgency to move towards circular economy for survival. This is the what. Then we have the how. So in the how, we talk about enabling technologies of Industry 4.0, because these are the enablers, right? So you can see a list of technologies here. I'm not going to read them all for you, but basically these are some of the enabling technologies of Industry 4.0. As you know, we have general purpose technologies and also technologies that are very specific to each domain and industry, which obviously, as an expert in that field, when you're working there, you would know them, you would explore them, and you would analyze them, and you would also include them into the methodology that we're going to discuss today. So from here, we are going to take a couple of examples to talk a bit more about them. You can guess. Then the third part is the what. So this is what are the applications and use cases. So basically here we take a couple of examples. As you can see the list here, but there are much more. Actually, I will show you what we are exactly going to look into. But so this is the third part where we are going to see some examples of how, what are the applications of technology for business model innovation. So basically here is the mind map of this session. You might not be able to read it, but just to show you how things are related. Maybe if you're using, if you're watching the video, you can maybe take a screenshot and zoom if you like, but anyways, we are going to go through all of them and you can have them basically. So let's start with the what, the drivers. Okay, so we are talking about the digital economy for the first one, the transition to the digital economy. So first we need to understand what do we mean by digital economy. So digital economy is basically the economy in which major industries are empowered by technologies. Almost everything today, now you're watching this video online from anywhere in the world. Now everything is almost done online because of the pandemic situation. So now everything, all the transactions, everything, as you can guess, is on the digital economy. What do you mean by the transition to the digital economy? Aren't we there yet? Well, no, the short answer is no. We are not there yet, because when we talk about digital economy, it means a well-coherent system that works perfectly on the digital enablers and digital tools and infrastructures, which is not the case. We're going to discuss why and how, what are the shortcomings, and what are the problems basically that that can arise from this issue. So on the left, we have some industries. These are some of the industries that have been heavily impacted by digitization, basically. So some of them, you know, really well. And again, you see the etc. It means that there are much more. So from those industries affected by technology, disrupted or empowered, then we have the xTech. So the xTech, we have like Fintech, EdTech, HealthTech, and the rest. So these are the new, if you like, industries that have been created simply because of the empowerment of technology, and because technology has pushed the industries that you see on the other column, and the use of technology has created more opportunities, more markets, and the growth and the change has been really so much that particularly now today, if we're talking about finance, it's not necessarily fintech, because fintech obviously offers much more than finance itself, as revenue streams that you can have in your business model, as accessibilities, as strategies that you would need to include, and everything else. So the same for EdTech and education. So obviously we're talking about education. EdTech is like technology and technologically empowered education, but obviously we're talking about two different sort of solutions here. It's not really the same when it comes to efficiency or return on investment, or even the type of the customers that you might have, the type of the relationship, the strategic alliances that you might have. So everything almost changes in the business model if you're talking about EdTech versus education, or FinTech versus finance. Obviously, in whatever xTech industry you're working, obviously you would need to have a very good understanding of the industry itself in order to see what are the differences and where it has been elevated in terms of efficiency and new opportunities, basically. And then from xTech, then we have some major sort of solutions that we are working on today. So smart and intelligent solutions that we call like smart agriculture, intelligent manufacturing, smart shipping, smart grids, homes, buildings, wearables, and etc. So we are going to discuss a bit more in the examples as well. We're going to link them together to see, okay, what can we do basically with technologies, and what needs to be well understood before we can move into the innovation part. So the digital economy. So the digital economy, as we briefly discussed, so we can have sector, cluster, and market-specific digital economy, which is the case. For example, if you look at fintech, yes, it is a digital economy of fintech. It exists, it works really well, but is it regionally, globally assimilated or not? So these are some questions that we need to ask ourselves. On whatever industry that we are working on, we are focused on, we need to see, okay, what is the assimilation of the digital component of that economy, of that market, of that cluster or sector, versus the regional and global assimilation of it. So here, as you can see, there are issues that we need to avoid: compatibility, transferability. So here we talk about compatibility of infrastructures, of solutions that you might have if you're, for example, working in fintech. Is the solutions that you're working on, are they fully compatible to the financial sector itself or not? Obviously, as you know, in fintech, there are lots of opportunities these days because actually this compatibility is increasing. Are we there yet 100%? I personally don't think so. Transferability of knowledge, of expertise, of know-hows, best practices across the digital economy. If you're talking about fintech, we need to see how transferable are the skill sets and the expertise in the global context, in the regional context, in the cluster context, or are we only talking about a particular sector or industry here? So those are the questions that we need to ask and we need to address. Actually, these are also the shortcomings and the opportunities. The shortcomings in the sense that, okay, these are the shortcomings in the system today. If you analyze any industry that is empowered by technology, you can see how integration, for example, is not fully supported with the non-technologically enabled proportion of that industry, which is still in place. Interoperability talks about the data that we might have, the information, the systems, the infrastructure that we have, and the coherence, obviously, as a system. So here, the ecosystem design that you see there on the screen, that is the red thread of the discussion. Ecosystem design is basically what we are going to work on more in next slides. We are going to discuss to see what is the importance of it. But I guess, obviously, you can see how the discussion relates. We're talking about an ecosystem within which we would have transferability, integration, interoperability, coherence, compatibility, and the rest. So we are talking about enabling technology. So what are the enabling technologies, just as a quick reminder? So enabling technologies basically enable the evolution and emergence of new patterns. So the three keywords are very important: evolution, emergence, new patterns. In what? In science, in culture, lifestyle, awareness, governance, intelligence, value systems. And then we would have new business models, industries, and markets. So if you do a quick search on industry revolutions, you can see from industry revolution, the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, you can see how science, culture, lifestyle, awareness have changed, how the governance, intelligence, value systems have changed, and how new business models have appeared, how industries and markets have sort of reshaped totally. Sometimes there are new markets that didn't exist in the previous industry revolutions, obviously. And so for a very simple example that we are all familiar with, we can take smartphone and the ecosystem that enables this functionality, not only the phone itself, but obviously we are talking about here all the components within the telephone itself, within the smartphone itself, the telecommunication technology around that makes it actually work. If you take your smartphone today to Mars, it doesn't work because then there's no telecommunication that supports the system, right? So the applications that you use, you order your food or you order a cab or something, there's the application side of it. There are businesses that are involved within the ecosystem that basically create the functionalities of a smartphone end to end. So it's disruptive to a lot of industries, and at the same time, it's enabling. It's disrupting a lot of industries, and it's also enabling a lot of more businesses. It drives the evolution of business models. Again, just open your smartphone, just take a quick look on your applications. You can very easily distinguish what are these sort of business models, and did we have them basically before smartphones? Did we have them in the previous generation of the industry or the previous industrial revolution? So then we talked about the mass integration of Industry 4.0 technology. So again, we have the list of some of the enabling technologies, but then you see 4 icons here. So these are not just to make the slides nice. I don't know if it actually does, but each one, they have a message. They have a message, and the first one on the top, which has plugs, it talks about the importance of plugging our technologies into the right infrastructure. In other words, if you have the best technology today that works, let's take an extreme example of blockchain. You all have heard about blockchain these days. There are lots of discussions, debates, a lot of pros and cons around it. So are the solutions based on blockchain are totally plugged into a system that is functional? In other words, if today you have lots of Bitcoin, which you all know, can you pay your rent with it? I doubt if you can. You might be, but systematically speaking, it's not standard. So this is where the importance of plugging the technologies into the right infrastructure has the most important sort of weight, because no matter how brilliant your technology is, no matter how brilliant your solution, your business model is, if it's not plugged into the right infrastructure that supports the full functionality of your solutions and business models, then basically it's of no use, or it's not as efficient as it should be. The second one talks about empowerment. So here we talk about empowering factors of enabling technologies and the solutions to make them inclusive. So if our solutions are not inclusive, so what happens is that basically plugging them into the right infrastructure would become more difficult, because only when you have inclusivity or inclusiveness in your systems and in your solutions, that is only when you have actually engaged the community, engaged the economy to be a part of your business model, to be a part of your economy. So each business model needs to be considered as an economy, right? So if in your economy, the engagement, the empowerment is not really focused on, so basically there are some shortcomings. There will be some problems. There will be some issues that you would need to manage later. So basically that is why we talk about inclusive business models, having inclusion always as a part of your business modeling, as a part of your strategy. We are going to have some examples, some concrete ones, and you can basically see why or how this is important. So the one on the bottom, like a circle, that talks about the ecosystem. So if you do not have the right ecosystem within which your solution or your business model needs to be functional, if the ecosystem around it is not enabling, it's not empowering, you basically cannot have the full efficiency of your solution. So let's take an example of an application on your smartphone. That application has a business behind it, which the business is actually well integrated into an ecosystem that now can work, can function. You can order your pizza on the application because, well, there is the application, there is the developers, there is the hosting behind it, there's the telecommunication technologies around it that makes it happen in real time, that you order, the restaurant receives your order, they start working on it, when they send it, then you pay online, and everything is basically connected within a functional ecosystem. So that is the importance of the ecosystem. On the right side, you can guess what it is. So it's the regulatory framework and the policy around it. So if your solution, your technology, your business model is not supported within the policy and regulatory framework, you cannot function well. Again, the same example, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now these days gaining more traction. It's becoming more and more integrated into the financial system. But as you can see, there are lots of frictions. There are lots of debates around it. It's still not there. But you can see basically now these days, you can do some online shopping with your cryptocurrency, which was not the case 6-7 years ago. So who knows, maybe hopefully a couple of years from now, we can do much more with it. So if the regulatory support is there, then obviously in terms of integration of your business model and solution, you'll be in a much better place. Without it, we can't do much. So make sure that you follow the regulatory and the policy framework to see what is allowed in whatever jurisdiction that you're working on and within, with, to make sure that you're basically conform. So then we talked about microeconomics of competitiveness. Wow, lots of words there. So what is it? So this is based on the index by the World Economic Forum here. So I just put it very simply. So microeconomics of competitiveness basically is about empowering the grassroots in the economy and in the society, and to make sure that we achieve competitiveness with the bottom-up approach, which means that that's what we call it microeconomics, because now we are going to target microeconomics, empower them and make them competitive, and then we would have macroeconomic sort of strength and resilience. So this is the framework developed by the World Economic Forum. So what it entails, basically, 4 major sectors. So the first one is the enabling environment, as you can see. So now, don't forget, we're talking about technology for business model innovation. So let's see how they're linked, right? Because this can take a fully economic, financial sort of a perspective. And, this framework can be really translated, if you like, into several different disciplines. And it's really important that we keep the focus on technology for business model innovation. So What are the technologies that enable stronger institutions? Technologies that enable stronger infrastructure. Technologies that facilitate the ICT adoption, ICT, information communication technology. And what are the technologies that help us with the macroeconomic stability? So why is it important? Because if we do not have enough ICT adoption, talking about the digital economy, we cannot go far, right? If our infrastructures are not digitally empowered, you remember the plugs? If the plugs are not there, if you have, the best electric vehicle and the plugs are not there, hypothetically speaking, and also literally speaking, if you don't have the plugs, to recharge your vehicle, what do you want to do with it? So institutions as well. So if institutions are not digitally empowered, if they are not really working in the digital context, well, obviously you can't, get by really easily with your solution and your business model. So the human capital, health. So technology for health, yeah, health tech, med tech, lots of xTechs that we saw and will see, and you might know even better than I do. So those are the technologies that support us for healthier human capital. So skills, training, and higher education. So the reason that I have not changed actually this and adapted to the context of technology for business model innovation, these are the exact 12 pillars of competitiveness by World Economic Forum, is actually because I wanted to have the focus. And also in my courses, I always keep the same focus because I want to see the conformity, also to see how exactly they sort of work very well together. It's not that we don't have different types of competitiveness index for technology when we're talking about microeconomics of competitiveness. We take the same one. So skills, training, and higher education. How technology can help us achieve stronger human capital through training and higher education. EdTech is one of the solutions. Are there more? There are more, much more. We'll get there. Market efficiency. We're talking about strong product market, labor market, which needs to be supported by a strong financial system, which needs to be also supported by considerable market size. How can technology help you? Innovation ecosystem, business dynamism, and innovation capability. How technology can increase the dynamism of businesses, the collaboration of businesses and institutions together, right? How can technology link them together in order to have stronger business dynamism? Simple examples. These days, we talk about clustered cloud databases, distributed ledgers, if that rings a bell in terms of sharing information, having access to the same information, having the same standards of information in order to be able to do something with the information and data that we have. So this is how technology supports, for example, the innovation ecosystem. If we don't have big data, AI, analytics, and those technologies, everyone is on its own, and you have your own data, I have my own data. Whenever we want to, sort of interact with each other, each of us, we have different type of translation from the data that we have. So obviously, the dynamic there is not great. There are lots of problems and lots of solutions, basically, as well. Lots of opportunities that now we have these days because we are not a fully digital economy. We are actually in the best phase of history in terms of opportunities. We never had access to this much technology, this amount of knowledge, this sort of interaction. You're watching this, I don't know when, now it's 2021, we are in March, and we are on Earth. So I don't know, you might watch it 5 years from now, 10 years from now from another planet. But this is how we are talking about the same things in the same context of innovation ecosystem. Still in the why, drivers, sustainable development goals. So basically 17 goals defined by the UN. And the objectives are very clear. I put it really, big here so you can also see. And I encourage you to download the SDG report. Every year it comes out. There's actually a new one based on the impact of COVID that you can download, and you can see what was the impact of the COVID-19 on the advancement of the SDG developments, right? So why is it important? This is where we have opportunities to have innovation in our business models. This is where we can have opportunities to innovate. This is where we need to innovate. These are the goals that we need to work towards, and we need to integrate them in our business model. These are the values. These are the things that we respect. We all agree. So this one, I encourage you to download the report. Also on the Microeconomics of Competitiveness, annually, there's a report that comes out, analyzes different nations, but that report obviously is not talking about technology necessarily for business model innovation. It's an actual analysis of the macroeconomic and microeconomic perspective of the world, of the countries that are participating in that sort of study. So that is also eye-opener. That is also inspiring for you to see what could be your next innovation. Circular economy. So you're all familiar with the problems that we have in the environmental perspective, climate, all the unfortunate things that we need to deal with. So circular economy is basically, I let you read, but I'm just also going to put it in easier wording, if you like. Basically, circular economy talks about redistributing resources horizontally and vertically, diagonally, over and over again, and to do basically more with less, to hopefully move to a regenerative economy for increased efficiency of resources. How do we do it? Or why would you do it? So historically, we have been taking, making, disposing, and that's why we have so many problems these days. I'm not going to enter into the discussion of circular economy. It's a very important subject. Also, it's very deep. So we have different types of courses and programs around circular economy, from certificate courses to projects on our EMBA to our doctoral program on research and our research center. So, but basically, this is just to give you the perspective of take, make, dispose now needs to be circular. Now resources needs to be reused over and over and over and over again. So this makes it much easier to visualize. These are the 10 R's that are developed by Ellen MacArthur's Foundation. So this is basically what we always keep in mind, and this is basically where technology for business model innovation can help. So the higher you go, the stronger you are in circularity. The lower you go, the more you are towards the linear economy. So as you can see, recover and recycle on the bottom, recover as the last one, is the closest to the linear economy, because recover is really the last step. It's the last thing you would like to do. Recycling, everyone talking about recycling, right? It's actually not that great. We are still having a useful application of material, but obviously if instead of R8 you move to R3, if you have reuse, obviously you're in a much better position in terms of efficiency of the usage of your resources. And the first one starts with refuse, making products redundant, and then we rethink, and then we reduce. So one by one we come down. So for you working on business model innovation, study circular economy. There's a lot of free material that you can download from Ellen MacArthur's Foundation to the EU commissions, in which a lot of institutions from academia, from businesses, companies, everyone contributes to. Our school, our research center also, we're super active in circular economy. We're working on a number of projects delivered by the European Union and the EU Commission. So there's a lot to get inspired from here in circular economy, right? So this is another why. This is another driver for technology, for business model innovation. Right, so we covered why. So now we go to how. Enablers, the second section of the discussion. So this is I have chosen 3 technologies, this Frontier Technology Toolbox. Again, all of them are important. All of them are very impactful in the transition to the digital economy. Not only all of those you saw on my list, but also the lots of more technologies that might be very particular to any given industry. But I just took these 3 examples because almost everyone knows what they do, and almost everyone is now involved with them on their frontier because they are general purpose technologies. So let's dive into the AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I let you read. On the last line, I put just a very quick sort of resume. AI basically gives us the insight based on which we would make operational and strategic decisions, do predictive modeling, probability analysis, and many more. A lot of them you know really well: forecast and automation, targeted marketing, inventory management, and the rest. We'll have some examples as well. So basically, AI links to insight. How do we get to insight? Basically, we have the data. We work on the data to get information. Then we take the information to come up with insight. And then we take the insight for decision making, from which we would have innovation in our solutions, in our strategies, in our products and services, and many more. The next one, Internet of Things and connected devices. So basically, bridging the physical and the digital realm, right? So IoT is really about connectivity and feedback loops, which is very important. We can control the digital environment, the physical environment through our smartphone, through the digital platform. We control it, we monitor, we see what's going on. We have measures and metrics for security and quality. We do resource management. We use them for predictive and preventive maintenance, and from diagnosis to prognosis, and many more. We will have some examples. Distributed ledger technologies. I took blockchain here, but as you know well, distributed ledger technologies are not only about blockchain. Blockchain is the best example because it's better developed, because we have much higher activity in terms of investment, in terms of developers, in terms of solutions that are actually out now, and a lot of those who are under development. But we have other types of technologies, DLT technologies and blockchain. We focus on blockchain. So brings us data management, security, immutability, privacy. You can do many things. We'll have very good examples here as well. So basically, it's about trust. Trust in several dimensions. Trust in your data, in the provenance of your data, tracking your products, and many more. And then most important for me, it's really interesting because it provides the best incentive system to sort of culturally improve the behavior and the socioculture behavior of the society, because you can incentivize people to do things. We have an example for this as well. Basically, because you can quantify the qualities through blockchain. How can we do it? We'll see a couple of examples, but again, this is just the masterclass. I have the pleasure to be with you today, but each of these slides, they have a course behind. So if you're interested, get in touch. You know where to find us. So for me, I'm a big fan of blockchain, as you can guess. So why? Because for me, blockchain is the cornerstone technology for the digital economy. And why is that? Because basically, we're talking about the digital economy. What we are working with? We're working with data and information, right? Blockchain provides the infrastructure, the security and the trust in data itself. We talk about IoT, sensors, later we talk about smart cities and stuff. So here you have data that you're going to take, analyze, have information, get insights from, and then make decisions upon. Hey, what if it's hacked, or what if it's the provenance is not correct? The data that you see on your screen is not actually coming from the sensor that you have on the street, but maybe someone else hacked it, and you're getting the wrong one. So here is where actually blockchain can really help us. I'm not saying that's the panacea for all the problems that we have. Don't take me wrong. I'm just saying that the potentials, that blockchain provides us today as to provide the trust in the infrastructure of the digital economy is of utmost importance. All right. So again, this is the list of the technologies that we discussed. We talked about briefly on the three last ones, blockchain, token, and crypto economics. We didn't really, we don't have really time to dive into them, but if you're interested, you can, read around and, take our courses and stuff. It's easy to learn these days. So let's go to what? The third one. I'm looking at the time. We're good. So use cases and applications. What can be done with technology for business model innovation? What are some examples? We saw the why, we saw the drivers, we saw how can we get inspired by technology for business model innovation. We saw how technologies can support business model innovation. Obviously, we just saw briefly, but we're going to have examples actually here. So now we're going to better understand the how and the why. Concrete examples for you. So you might have already heard them. They are old but gold. Zen Robotics from Finland, the first company to apply AI-based sorting robots. This one is very interesting if you take a look into. So I have put the name so you can also search them. The next one, IoT and telecom, Philips City Touch solution. This is very interesting. It's not new. Again, these are not new, but when you search for them, when you see the evolution of their projects, then you will understand how important it is to have technology at the core of your business model innovation, because then you can see the evolution of your markets and revenue streams, how new solutions can be basically emerge from your business model. So what did Philips do? Basically, in partnership with Vodafone, and Vodafone used the machine-to-machine SIM card network. So they basically connected using IoT, a network of intelligent lighting, in order to help save energy and material and retrieve value of remanufactured resources. Super interesting. On YouTube also, they have a very interesting video. And obviously, if you're researchers watching this session, there's a lot to dive deeper in that section as well for researchers. And also, if you're working on the executive level and on the business model innovation, very inspiring story. So what they did already was super inspiring, is still ongoing, but something super interesting in France, in Rennes, actually now one of the new sort of solutions that they have proposed is that they have the UVC to clean the air, basically, so to disinfect the area. So they had a very nice sort of business model from the beginning, integrating IoT and AI and telecom together, intelligent assets. And now based on that, they are having new, more emergent solutions, new markets, new revenue streams, new values, new needs to the market, and basically new customers and new products and new impact. The other one using AR, DACRI, is very interesting, using augmented reality. They have smart helmets. The other one, on blockchain, you have the provenance. The name is also cool. So it's, they basically are involved with the fishing industry, and they use the blockchain to track tuna. So you can basically see where your tuna has been, where has it been, where has it come from, where does it go, basically the whole value chain behind your tuna. And the plastic bank, which is super interesting because they actually incentivize people to help with the big problem that we have with plastic. Some part of it, obviously. Not everything can be tackled with one solution, but the example was very interesting for me to include it here for you. They work with IBM blockchain. So this is also something else that I encourage you to take a quick look into. The other one is SolarCoin. So basically SolarCoin comes and says, okay, hey, you know what? You have solar panels installed? Fine. You generate electricity for yourself, not for me. You're not giving it to me. You generate it, and I give you in cryptocurrency of SLR. So basically, you're just doing it already for yourself, but hey, there's an added value here. you get a coin here. Is it good? Is it bad? Take a look, analyze it, study it. I also have a teaching case on this one. Also, the founder is an alum of our school. So this was also a super interesting example that blockchain comes with energy industry together to provide new solutions and business model innovation. So these were some concrete examples. So now let's sort of zoom back. So supply chain management in general. So what can we do with technology? Listed here, from procurement to inventory management to tracking and quality control to insurance and safety and just-in-time supply chain management to reverse logistics. So all of these solutions, I have put them here for you. So you might get ideas here. You might get sort of indicators to what sort of solutions you're working on for your business model innovation. Supply chain management actually is one of the famous examples in the industry of technology and business model innovation because it's so vast and it entails products, services, a multitude of partners, and a lot of people, organizations, a lot of companies that interact on one basically supply chain of one product, if you like, from different countries, from different types of industries and companies. So this is why I have included it here. So the next one, xTech, the combinatorial innovation and convergence of enabling technology. So what is interesting and why actually I included it here is because technologies combine together and they create new technologies. So technologies basically are recreated by previous blocks of technologies. Technologies always create problems, and technologies always provide solutions to the previous problems, and they create the new solutions, and the new solutions create new problems. That is why it never ends. If you're in tech, you're always busy. So what is the upside of it? So the upside of it is that technology and the combinatorial innovations allow us to find solutions to problems. And when they converge together, they become very strong. In the next slide, we are going to have more examples on this one. Here's a list of some xTechs that I had in mind. I listed them here for you. I'm sure you know more than me. Lots of other great sort of industries that are technologically enabled and empowered. So let's move on to the next one. So applications and use cases. So here's the combinatorial innovations and convergence. So here on the first one on the top, if you look in the fleet management and operations, we have the smart shipping, smart manufacturing, intelligent transport systems, and smart mobility. So the interesting thing about having these examples here is that they are really based on combinatorial innovation and convergence of technologies of AI, blockchain, machine learning, and intelligent assets, or IoTs enabled by, if you like, empowered by blockchain and AI. So why is it interesting to see? It is interesting to see for those of you who are actually participating in the hackathon, or those of you who are interested in fintech or any xTech. Basically, just think about it. I'll take the example of fintech. Below, we are talking about compound infrastructures and services. So talking about smart cities, smart grids, and smart homes and buildings. So here, why is it important? So what are the transactions that are happening in these sort of solutions, in these compound infrastructures and services? There are tons of transactions, right? Talking about smart cities, smart mobility and transport systems, smart intelligent manufacturing. There's always a transaction of data, transaction of value. So fintech solutions are very interesting actually as an example, because all these infrastructures and solutions would need fintech solutions, not only to sell and buy and to pay for your coffee and stuff, but because in smart mobility, smart vehicles, smart cars, autonomous cars, they need to exchange information with each other, so to talk to each other. They're going to transact information. And at some point, they need to incentivize with each other to provide the proper sort of information. They're not actually paying each other, but they are. So that is why fintech can be super interesting to look into the broad spectrum of sort of applications and use cases of the technology into the upcoming and under development, and some of them very advanced sort of combinatorial innovations and solutions. And that is why I included this here. And the human enhancement wearables are already there, right? And now talking about bioprinting, 3D bioprinting, neural implants, and a lot of interesting things that are happening these days. So can you innovate there? Sure. Are there products out there? Well, no, but hey, people get, fundraising because they have brilliant ideas that promise products, services, solutions to support the ecosystem, which is going to enable these infrastructures, these solutions, these products to be functional. Why can't you be one of them, right? So that is why, even though some technologies are conceptual at some stages, even though they're still under development, doesn't mean that we cannot, sort of innovate and we cannot work on them. Obviously, it's super interesting for researchers because, they're talking about emerging frontiers of, sort of technologies and what's coming up, but also for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, for companies, it's super interesting also to think and to see what's happening, what's coming up, to plan for it. All right. So, business process management is a very good example of applications and use cases of technology for business model innovation. Almost every company that we talk about in our examples, they use business process management. So, as you can see, there are sort of 5 stages, and all of them come to innovation in strategies, products, services, and processes. So here's a great example of technology on the internal use of technology for organizations to get insight, to work, to monitor the performance, to work on the application and transformation of their business model, basically, and strategies and products and services and processes, the workflow modeling, and the application integration, and many more. So this one is also very interesting if you are working as an executive in companies, or if you're targeting sort of B2B solutions. This is also very interesting to take a look into. So these were some examples, some use cases. Again, I'm sorry that the time is sort of short on a webinar format, but in case you join our courses, obviously we'll go much deeper into the conversation. So the next stage is integration tools. So here, this is a framework that I sort of developed myself. Nothing new. I mean, it's not rocket science, obviously. These are the things that I have chosen based on my work as a professor of technology management and digital transformation innovation, and also as an advisor to companies and to investors and to entrepreneurs, and where actually action happens. So this is based on my personal experience and my personal studies and research, and my doctoral research as well. So what is it? So first of all, we always keep in mind, explore and analyze. What do we explore? We always explore the emerging frontiers. Whatever industry you're working on, whatever focus you have, always know what is happening on the emerging frontiers. What is the relationship with technology here? Well, yes, there is, because technology, as you saw some examples, they're almost everywhere, right? Enabling technologies are almost everywhere. They're enabling, disrupting almost all industries. So whatever industry you're working on, if you're not aware of the implications of technology into your business model, well, you might take a deeper look because they're there. But you need to know what is happening. What are the emerging frontiers, which means that what are the things that are appearing on the horizons? Not that necessarily they are there, but they will be there soon. So you better know. So convergence of technologies is important. The reason that I had AI, IoT, blockchain, and I always also include telecommunication and XR in my examples, is because convergence of technologies is super important because it brings new opportunities for you as an innovator, as a company, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, as a researcher, but also to your competitors, right? if the right set of technologies converge together, they can disrupt your business model. Make sure to study them yourself. Make sure to analyze them, explore them yourself before you get surprised by a new solution or product that is based on the convergence of technologies, and now it's disrupting you. Great example again, I go to blockchain. Look what's happening with the blockchain technology, not only on the cryptocurrency side, but rather on the crypto economics and on the big picture of the integration of blockchain into our value chains, into our financial systems. Now recently in art, basically with the increased sort of attention to NFTs, non-fungible tokens these days, you might have heard. If not, take a look. Super interesting discussions, interesting things happening. The amount of investment, corporate investments on enterprise blockchain is something you wouldn't want to neglect. And obviously, this is where actually technologies and integration of technologies and the xTechs tap into new markets and industries, and come eat you if you don't sort of pay attention, if you don't analyze, if you don't explore what is happening, what can be done with the convergence. Always keep an eye on the adjacencies and intersections of industries, of markets. Know what's happening in your adjacent industries. Analyze your value chain. We're actually seeing it in the next step, and see what can be done. Those are your neighbors, right? So if something happens in those adjacent industries and markets, you better know about that. Leapfrogging, see what is possible to leapfrog, right? Leapfrogging, as a quick reminder, leapfrogging in technology basically is when we use technologies to address some shortcomings with the development of the previous phases of digital acceleration. A quick example, the mobile smartphones, mobile telecommunications, for long, they actually responded to a long existing shortcoming of the wired telecommunication system in many countries. In many countries, obviously, shortcomings in terms of development led to sort of lack of infrastructure for telecommunication. We're talking about the fixed phones before mobile phone, but then the mobile phones showed up, not only responded to the existing problem at the time of not having enough infrastructure, wired infrastructure to have the telephony system, but it also brought smartphones with it and the whole economy, the whole ecosystem around the digital and around e-commerce and around many more things. So that is why actually it's super interesting to look into leapfrogs, because with leapfrogs you don't look into responding to an existing challenge only, but you're also looking into creating much more new opportunities and sort of emerging innovations also in that ecosystem, in that economy. Might it be micro, might it be macro? So what are the major drivers of your industry? What are the whys, the hows, and the what? What is the value generation within your industry and also across with the adjacent industries and markets and also across your value chain? What are the externalities and impact of your business model? Can you take the externalities and the negative ones and turn them into positive externalities? You must. That's not the question of can you, but find solutions to do so. And what are the impacts, right? What are the gaps? What are the gaps in your business model in terms of integration with the ecosystem, integration with the adjacent markets and industries? What can be done? Basically, we're talking about business model innovation. We're talking about new things, emerging sort of ideas and solutions. And finally, the ecosystem design. Make sure that your business model is connected to a functional ecosystem. See where can you address the gaps in that ecosystem. If you're in the xTech, let's say game tech or health tech or fintech, see what type of solutions can you bring on board to improve the relationship, the exchange within the ecosystem. So that is where your business model, your solution would be essential to the ecosystem. So after the exploration, which we always keep it running all the time, I use Teardown. I have created these 4 steps for myself that I use them always at work, in teaching, in consulting. So value chain, technology, information flow, and value proposition. So what are they? So this is to show you that it's a circular approach in the sense that it's always ongoing, no matter where you start, but always make sure to come back and analyze again to see what's happening. But let's start with value chain teardown. So basically, we take our value chain in whatever industry, whatever market you're working on, tear it down, tear it apart, and see what are the components, who are the contributors, what are the enablers, what are the communities, markets, what are the relationships, what are the challenges, what are the risks, what are the opportunities. So this is actually a great tool to use because you tear it down. It's not a reductionism approach, if you like. It doesn't mean that you're using systems thinking here rather than the ecosystem design, but it basically lets you analyze different portions, proportions, and sectors and subsystems of your value chain, and to basically see what you might miss from the big picture itself, right? You zoom in a bit. So, first tool. Let's go to the second tool. So, technology teardown. Where, which, why, what, and how. So, where can you use which technology and why? What can that technology do for you, and how does it happen? Basically, how does AI support you with doing something, with bringing you additional value if you integrate it into your customer acquisitions, for example? So the processes, the solutions, strategies, value propositions, strategic alliances. So these are where actually your technologies could be, the technologies that you bring on board could have very positive application. The next one is the information flow teardown. So this is basically about the feedback and feed forward loops, which is super important. So where can you learn? What can you do? What can you take from the information to feed forward? For example, you sell the product and you have the feedback, the customer survey. You get some information, right? And then from this information, you feed forward it to the development of your next solution or your product. So this is a feedback on something that you already sold, but it feeds forward to the next edition of your solution or product. It's about internal and external, and it also, you must also use the process mapping here. And next one is the value proposition teardown. So here we talk about, so let's say we talked about externalities and what are the sort of the byproducts that you might have. Let's say if you're getting information from your customers, analyze and see where within your value chain or within the adjacent industries and markets can you have a well-aligned value proposition, something that is an extra, something that can be done to support the value chain, the ecosystem. How can the data, the information that you have, or maybe the infrastructure that you have, can provide a value proposition to your adjacent industries, markets, even to your competitors from the perspective of collaborative competition or co-opetition. And basically, this is used to reinvent and recalibrate your strategies. and your processes, your solutions, and your strategies, right? So that's it with the slides. Now we are going to open for questions. So I mentioned that I have a surprise that I will share it with you on the last slide. So this is it. So we are offering 20 full scholarship free seats to the course of Technology for Business Model Innovation. It's a certificate course. That is where actually we are going to work on like workshop modes on the tools that we mentioned, and we are going deeper into the conversation if you're interested in. So all you need to do is basically scan this QR code, fill out the form, and we will reach out to you to send you all the information based on when you do it. So the offer is really limited. It's as a part of our partnership with Finastra, and we are gladly supporting this hackathon. We have done so for the previous one, and we plan to do it for the next ones as well. So this is sort of our ecosystem support, if you like. This is how we use, we sort of leverage on our externalities to give back to the society and to our ecosystem. This is where actually we are looking to have researchers, executives, entrepreneurs, students on board in order to have sort of a very sort of an exchange that is very productive for the participants in the classroom. This is also our philosophy for our executive MBA. People are coming from around the world, from different industries and from different backgrounds, and we co-develop and co-innovate solutions and ideas together. So,
yeah, thank you so much, Saman. That was a great session, very informative. Thank you also so much for this full scholarship opportunity with 20 seats available for the audience here. You have the QR code to access it, and we'll be also sharing it on the chat. We're running out of time, so we'll go quickly on the questions. One quite common question was about the recording of the session. The session recording will remain available both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So on the same link where you're watching it right now, it will still be available to you, so you can see it again or share it as well. We just got a question of how to apply for the scholarship. So you've got the one displayed here on the screen, which is where you have the QR code. So you just need to scan that to access the full scholarship for this Technology for Business Model Innovation certificate. There are also additional scholarships available as part of the hackathon. So you should be able to find all the information on iwd.devpost.com, and under resources, we'll be also posting both links on the chat on LinkedIn, so you'd be able to access them. The other question I've got for you, Saman, we've got it a couple of times, is about the slides. Would you be sharing those slides? And if so, how can the attendees access them?
Sure. I will share them. You know what? If you're interested in receiving the slides, scan this QR code, drop your email, and we will send the slides to all the registered participants, actually. Okay. Or maybe, Shireen, if you can also share with me the list of participants, I can do that as well.
So we'll probably want to have all the full list of everyone watching us on LinkedIn. What I would suggest is actually for everyone interested, feel free to reach out to Saman. What's the best place to reach out to you, Saman? Is it LinkedIn?
So connect to me on LinkedIn, but I have to be honest with you, I wouldn't have time to answer all the messages. But Shireen, you know what? I send you another form. If you don't mind sharing this link, actually that would be better, because this QR is really used for the online course, but I share the other
Yeah,
link.
sure. So we'll have a specific link to accessing the slides, and we'll be sharing it again on the chat for LinkedIn. So watch out for that, and through that link you'd be able to get it. And just one last question, as we're getting out of time, from Francisca. A very interesting question about. How can we possibly incorporate all of these insights, Saman, into a transformational banking strategy?
Okay, very good. All right. Let me take you here. So first, remember we talked about explore and analyze. So you would need to study the emerging frontiers first, and the rest. I'm not going to repeat them all. So you're going to first study what's happening, then you do the teardown. But obviously for that, as we talked about the combinatorial innovations of technologies, you need to have a very good understanding of the technologies that are affecting your industry. I mean, it's not only AI and blockchain and IoT and XR and much more. So you need to have a deeper dive. If you join the online courses, we would workshop these type of questions and we actually work on them together. But basically, this tool that I shared with you here answers your question, but doesn't give you the response directly. You need to put some work into it, and you need to basically work on it to see how can you leverage technology for your business model innovation. I don't know what type of innovation you're looking into. Is it about innovation in revenue streams, innovation in your solutions or offerings, or innovation in regarding your customer acquisition or customer relationship management? Or it can be like tons of sort of axes that we can study and analyze. So for the sake of the in the context of a short webinar, this is the best I can give you here, I'm afraid. I hope it helps.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Saman. With this, I'd suggest closing the session today. Thank you so much for all of these insights. It was definitely a very informative session. But yeah, it's definitely the start of the conversation. Please take the opportunity of all the scholarships that École des Ponts Business School is offering. They're really exciting. We'll be sharing all the links on the chat with you, and also take this opportunity to get involved with Hack to the Future as an opportunity to apply all of these innovation principles for a good cause, with removing bias from the fintech space. Also, if you'd like to continue the discussion with both of us, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to continue the discussion. Make sure you check iwd.devpost.com for all the information about the scholarships and about the hackathon. And thank you all for your time. Thanks a lot, Saman.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you all for joining, for staying with us, for tuning in. So basically, we are going to have more discussions. Maybe, sorry about the time, we can't really get to all the questions, but hopefully in the next versions that we are going to have, we might plan it for a bit longer, and we are going to keep it a bit shorter as well in order to have more interactions together. So thanks again. Connect on LinkedIn. Follow us. You will have all the webinars and the sessions that we deliver as well. And looking forward to seeing you online or in real life sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.